reverence for life, aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life. I am committed to cultivating the insight of inner being and compassion and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world. True happiness, aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression. I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others, and I will share my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. I will practice looking deeply to see that the happiness and suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and suffering, that true happiness is not possible without understanding and compassion, and that running after wealth, fame, power, and sensual pleasures can bring much suffering and despair. I am aware that happiness depends on my mental attitude and not on external conditions, and that I can live happily in the present moment simply by remembering that I already have more than enough conditions to be happy. I am committed to practicing right livelihoods so that I can help reduce the suffering of living beings on Earth and stop contributing to climate change. True love, aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society, knowing that sexual desire is not love and that sexual activity motivated by craving always harms myself as well as others. I am determined not to engage in sexual relations without true love and a deep, long-term commitment made known to my family and friends. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Seeing that body and mind are one, I am committed to learning appropriate ways to take care of my sexual energy and cultivating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness, which are the four basic elements of true love, for my greater happiness and the greater happiness of others. Practicing true love, we know that we will continue beautifully into the future. Loving speech and deep listening, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others. I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifesting in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and to look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help me and the other person to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nourish my capacity for understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, and gradually transform the anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. Nourishment and healing. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the four kinds of nutriments, namely edible foods, sense impressions, volition, and consciousness. I am determined not to gamble or to use alcohol, drugs, or any other products which contain toxins, such as certain websites, electronic games, TV programs, films, magazines, books, and conversations. I will practice coming back to the present moment to be in touch with the refreshing, healing, and nourishing elements in me and around me, not letting regrets and sorrow drag me back into the past, or letting anxieties, fear, or craving pull me out of the present moment. I am determined not to cover up loneliness, anxiety, or other suffering by losing myself in consumption. I will contemplate inner being and consume in a way that preserves peace, joy, and well being in my body and consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family, my society, and the earth.
At this time, I'd like to invite up our incense lighters. And for the rest of us, could we turn to page 2 and we'll be doing our incense lighting gatha together? In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholeheartedness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Hello, everybody. My name is Sun Shin, and if you haven't been here before, welcome to the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. I am absolutely thrilled to be a part of this temple here. We're a little bit of a melting pot of practices, but we all get along very well together. Just trying to reduce a little bit of suffering out there in the world. I'm going to give a couple morning announcements, or not morning announcements, a couple, I guess, little morning check-ins before we start. First off, if you do need to use the restroom at any time, if you go right through those curtains, there's two there. And also, if you take the curtain right past Bodhidharma, there's another downstairs area, and there's a bathroom down there, as well as if you need to just step away for any moment. There's also some toys there too if you have an urge to play with some Legos. We also ask that as you enter or leave the temple, you give a bow. And we also ask that if you do need to walk across, that if you walk across the back and not in front of the dais. I like to say we don't enter a sacred space, we create it actively. And so I'd like all of your help to do that today. With that, why don't we all stand up and we will greet each other silently. And if we could turn to page 3, we'll be doing our 3 refugees chants. I go for refuge to Buddha, the deeply awakened mind, living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And if you can turn to the next page, page 4, we'll be doing the Heart Sutra together. Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, received the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight, no realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Vamaha prajna paramita hridaya sutra. Thank you. You can be seated. So I have um, the honor to talk about the very last of the five precepts today in our series. It's been going on since the beginning of our precept class that is in progress, and we're getting towards the end, guys. So you're doing great. So I'm going to ask you all, what is the fifth precept? I hear murmuring. Okay, that's one way to look at it. Yeah. Yes. Ooh, I like that one. All right. Um, so I had the tremendous honor of bestowing these precepts yesterday during a Jukai ceremony with my student. And I really think going through that process really helped me to kind of form what I was going to say today. A little bit of a throw everything out like I write anything. I don't write anything down. But if I did, I would have thrown it away and then I would have rewritten it. And I am going to read the way that in our tradition, my tradition, and some of yours tradition, Soto Zen, how we talk about the fifth precept. And we say, I exercise proper care of my body and my mind. I am not gluttonous. I do not abuse drugs or encourage others to do so. And I do not sell the wine of delusion. um, I feel like with all the precepts, the more you look into them, they simultaneously get very wide, the definition, but then the path to follow them gets a lot more narrow. It's a little bit of a puzzle, and especially when you start trying to juggle them together. But I really like the idea of this is basically the precept of consumption, of skillful consumption. And yes, it's usually classically referred to abstaining from alcohol and other intoxicants. But I will like to say, and hopefully I can talk on this further later on, this isn't a strict prohibition, unlike maybe sins or commandments that we hear from other practices. When I hear about this precept, I usually hear one of two things. The first I always hear is, I really want to be Buddhist. I really want to take the precepts, but I just don't know if I'm ready to give up, the cocktails on the weekends. Or, I smoke a little weed on the nights and it helps me relax. And that's just something that I'm not ready to give up. And I want to say that this isn't exactly like that. I don't think that you necessarily have to be a monk to be a good Buddhist. I also feel like you would be doing yourself a disservice to stop your practice or maybe take a step back because maybe you aren't ready to start thinking about this kind of stuff. Nor do I think you have to land on the pedestal of complete abstinence from everything to follow this precept correctly. The other thing that I always hear when talking about this precept, and maybe even wider when we're talking about the drugs and alcohol in our community, is that you shouldn't do them because you're going to mess up your life. You're going to ruin your job, your family, and I hear a lot of you and your, and that's something that I want to break apart today. So I have another question, and why don't we try hand raising this time since you guys are a little shy. Throughout all of history, who was the biggest drug dealer? I'm talking illicit drugs of all time. Does anybody know? I want some guesses. Yes. Oh, you are very close. You're very close. And in fact, in 2016, it was confirmed a rumor that a lot of people had presumed during the crack cocaine crisis in the 80s. There's a very big sort of known rumor that the CIA had a lot to do with it. partly because it kept, let's say, minorities that we didn't want to see in power under check. Um, but what they found out through the release of documents in 2016 is that the CIA had not only known about the drug trafficking coming into the country of crack cocaine from South America, but they were shielding it and protecting them from prosecution. And the reason is because this was the main funding for a lot of the Contras going on in South America that were protecting American interest and toppling over democratically elected officials to basically help American trade. Not only that, but in the same decade, if you were caught with cocaine, which was seen as the more, let's say, upper class drug, the white drug, you would receive far less severe of a sentence than if you were caught with crack cocaine, which was seen the drug of black people. When somebody says, doing these things is a character flaw, it's going to ruin your life, I think they forget that this is a much wider thing. This is a systematic issue. This is an issue of racism and unchecked capitalism and coups. When you are picking up that pipe, it's more than just your own issue with that thing. But you guys were wrong. The United States of America is actually not the biggest drug dealer of all time. Yes. No, not even close. Yes. Ooh, the good one, but not close. Are you ready? One more guess. No, actually not. The largest drug dealer of all time was the British Empire. And I'm talking specifically illicit drugs. In the early 1800s, the country of China, for the first time, opened up trade with the rest of the world. They were very resistant because, as you know, China had, 2,000-3,000 years worth of history behind them. They become very self-sufficient. There's a quote from the Emperor of China of the time saying that there's nothing a person could ever want or need that we can't provide our citizens within our own borders. But England, on their little foggy island, didn't have everything they needed. And they had a very, let's say, big appetite for Chinese porcelain, silk, and unfortunately, Britain really didn't have a lot that China needed or wanted. And so it was at this time that Great Britain started to introduce opium to China. This was something that the British Empire had basically complete control over. And through this addiction to opium that they seeded into their country, they were able to kind of create this artificial need that they were used to be able to get all of these goods out of China. Which, if you know anything about China in the 1800s, they went from one of the world powers to be completely decimated. They were completely riddled with addiction. Not only that, but they became dependent on this drug that wasn't even a need until it was introduced by the British Empire. As a result, China started putting severe bans on any sort of opiates in the country. And even to this day, you will hear that China still has very severe prohibitions on any sort of illicit substances. And I would say, before you go quick to judge them as not very progressive and maybe some regressive things, realize that they refer to this century as their sort of century of humiliation, that this thing completely destroyed their country. Well, after they had made this prohibition on opium, Britain wasn't going to, stop at that. They kept funding this underground trade into China. And at one point, they got fed up with it, and they seized a whole shipload of opium. And I'm talking about a little bit. I think it was something like 16 tons of opium. Tons, literal tons. and they burned it. They completely destroyed everything. They said, "We're not taking this anymore. You can't destroy our country." And of course, the British Empire, seeing this as an act of war, um, declared war on China. And then you had the First Opium War. Um, and there was also a second one for similar reasons. And as it panned out, Great Britain won. And part of the things is they said that they forced China to legalize the trade of opium so that they could continue their stranglehold on China. Um, I often think about this because, here we are 200 years later, and we are still in our communities riddled with, opiate addiction. I know that there are people sitting here in this room that have been affected by this. Um, and I think that it is a cruel lie to tell yourself that this is a character flaw. Um, this is a deep seated cultural, political, religious, um, racial problem in our culture, and that you've been affected by. Um, this prohibition on intoxicants isn't about, don't smoke weed on the weekends. It's realizing that every single thing that we participate in ripples into the rest of the entirety of the world. Maybe for one person it's just, I'm just going to smoke. But what they're really saying is, I'm going to participate in a country completely decimating a country and gutting it dry, taking their resources through this power. Crack cocaine's more than just smoking crack. This is funding Contras to overtake democratically elected governments. Of course, we're talking more than just about drugs today. Unfortunately, there are similar stories that you can say about just about everything we consume, the food that we eat. Did you know that about 75% of the world can't digest dairy? Um, and actually, the only group of people in the world that can reliably, and not say not everybody, but can digest dairy are white Europeans, um, because they were among the first to um, domesticate cattle and use their milk for food. But virtually every other culture didn't. And so they haven't evolved a lot of the mechanisms to digest it. So when you sit at a table or you go into a school and you're provided a lunch that has cheese and milk in it, and you have a hard time with that, there's a really deep history behind this, right? That consumption means a lot. Maybe your prohibition from dairy products and veganism is more than just, I don't want to see the baby calves suffer. Maybe it's acknowledging that there's some inherent racism in even the food that we eat. It's impossible to consume without acknowledging the deep colonialism that has existed in our culture, how that's been sort of put on, how there are things that are just said in our culture to be the standard way to do things that inherently uh, leave out a big chunk of this. So I have two kind of final statements on this, and I think two things to take. And none of them are going to be, you can't drink and be a Buddhist, you can't smoke weed and be a Buddhist. Okay? The first one is, you can't consume anything without leaving an impact. Whether that's using AI on your phone, yep, look into it. Eating a steak on the weekend, or spending your dollars at a store. Every single thing you do has an impact. And what I do think that we need to do as Buddhists, and just as people trying to relieve the suffering in the world, is realize that we have the power to alleviate that impact in every action that we do. That's the burden of enlightenment, folks, is that once you've seen the damage that things do, you can't ever go back. You can't ever go back without a little bit of dukkha, that suffering at least. So don't ask yourself, can I drink here? Can I smoke here? But instead, can I shop here? Can I do this? What is the impact down the line? If I am not willing to literally go and take a calf from a cow and slaughter it, why would I be willing to eat its meat? Perhaps it's a shift of how can I eat this more ethically, right? How can I use my money towards places that I want to see more in the world, right? Maybe I can buy my food and buy my clothes in a more ethical source. Maybe I can repair them so I don't have to keep adding to the giant floating plastic barge in the Pacific Ocean of mostly dirty underwear and t-shirts. The second thing is be very weary of picking up anything that you can't set down again. And this is really the idea of attachment. Um, can you have a cocktail? I can't tell you yes or no. This is the work that you have to do. There are no easy answers in Zen. The better question is, can you set it down when you need to? And for some of you, that's yes, I can. And for some of you, that's no, I can't. And for many of us in the world, that's I don't want to think about it. I think that really boils down this precept in those two ways. Everything that you do has an impact in the world. And because attachment is the heart of the suffering, be careful what you attach yourself to. And there are, I don't know, 50, 60 people in this room. And I know there's going to be 50 or 60 answers to this precept. And just because your answer is different than the person sitting next to you doesn't mean you're not welcome here, doesn't mean that you're not doing good in the world. So I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do, but I'm going to ask that you do the work yourself to figure out that question. So with that, I'd like to ask that we prepare for a little bit of meditation. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for joys and concerns. So if there's anything that you would like to share with the Sangha, whether it's something going really great, maybe not going really great, or something in the middle, we'd love to hear about it. So if you can raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. If nobody raises their hand, I'm going to start pointing to people. All right.
Good morning, Sangha. My name's Eric. I got to go camping up in the Porcupine Mountains for about 4 days. Stayed in a cabin, and it was like 27 degrees. But we got to swim in Lake Superior and then jump into the sauna and then go back and forth a bunch of times. It was amazing. And it was a very joyful and peaceful experience. I got to do it with my two brothers, my wife, and my other brother's wife as well. So really cool family trip. Just really grateful to get to do that with my family. Thank you.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Shane, or you can call me Jewesh and Sue. I am so grateful to be here, to bring a couple of friends with me, and to hear this precept from a different perspective. I've given this talk the last 3 years, so I really love Sunshin's interpretation and the history I learned from the British Empire. I never knew that, so good stuff. Yeah.
For some reason, they don't teach you all that in high school. I don't know.
Grand Rising, everybody. My name is Rez. I'm actually quite emotional. The beginning was highly triggering, but I realized that I'm exactly where I need to be. And I'm grateful to be here because I've been going through an intense awakening that has broadened my perspective in my teachings and my learnings, and realization that I'm here to help and to grow and to love. And I've actually been learning all these teachings by myself. So it feels like I'm at home. And I'm just looking forward to learning more and more each day and being here. And I have completely ridden myself from all substances, and have really done a 360 in my life. So right now it's learning just to be accepting of everyone, and continuing to grow. So I'm just grateful that I was brought here today to be in the presence of all of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm MJ. Just to piggyback off of that, thank you. I think I've also been finding a kind of home here over the last year and a half as someone who was raised very Catholic. And I know that, many of my family still find deep meaning in that tradition. And as someone who has for a long time tried to be a student of what empire does, I just really resonated with the depth of structural awareness today. So thank you.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Bill. This morning, well, last night, well, 2 weeks ago, I, I don't know. Accidentally set my gecko cage into a cold snap, and last night I found my gecko in like a cold shock. We've been working to get her better then, and she's doing much better now. She's actually moving around now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Sangha. My name is Chungo Su. Thanks for sharing, Billy. That made me think of something as well. This is my son, Parker. Our dog, Lucy, we just found a mass on her and had it removed, and it was cancerous, but it was removed cleanly and at an early stage, and she's doing well. So just wanted to share that.
Morning, Sangha. Ananda Pula Baba. It's been a minute since I've shared. So I got a couple concerns. One's like leaning more towards a joy. A really good friend of mine had a massive heart attack last week. He had some stints put in, and today he's back in Greenville going to a meeting. He does a recovery radio network on the Continuous Miracle Network, and he's doing that today. So he's a lot of progress there, a lot of support and love in his life. He's an amazing human being. And then I have a friend that's really grieving from a dog that passed away. They had to put their dog down last week, and really been I've been concerned about it because they're isolating a lot, and so I've been trying to lead you out. And yesterday I went to Comic-Con, so I'm like, really good. You need to get out and do something good for yourself, and hold space for that grief. Right? We talked about it. Joy. When I think of joy, it seems like I put it on something. I went to a race, Dirty Duel. It was great, right? There's some joy there. But I think the most liberating joy I experienced today is realizing I was upset about something earlier. I worked it in my mind, and then I chose, what am I doing with this? I just let it go. And then there's the joyful state of being that returns to it. Oh yeah, it really is that simple, right? I can smile, right? At any time. I always have the capability of bringing joy to my own life by smiling, right? Anyway, I'm really grateful to be here. That's all I have.
I'll just say too, I said be careful picking up anything you can't set down, and that also applies to anger.
Good morning, Sangha. I have a joy to share, and it's actually related to mindful consumption, specifically mindful consumption of food. And recently, I made a big change to my eating habits to really make sure that I'm giving my body what it needs. And I've been finding an incredible amount of joy in that, into proper nourishment and just cutting out some of the stuff that isn't necessary. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is Koho. I'm visiting from Traverse City with my girlfriend. We came down for Comic-Con, so excuse me if my voice is a little raspy, but I kind of like it. But our lineage that we practice with is actually based out of Toledo, and I don't get to make it down there very often. So I'm really grateful to have a chance to come here and practice with all of you. It's a wonderful space here, and first heard about this because of a cute little kitten cafe next door, and got to come here and visit with our other good friend too. So just a lovely, lovely place, lovely practice. Thank you. I've spoken.
Do we have anybody online? No? Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nelson. I apologize if you've heard me say this about 30 to 40 times already, but today's my last day here before I move out tomorrow to North Carolina. Permanent move. I first joined this temple a little more than a year ago. At the time, I still struggle with very similar things, but I was highly depressed and anxious, pretty self-centered, and kind of desperate to change the way I thought about stuff. Now I feel a whole lot better. I really appreciate this place's teachers, the practitioners, all the classes, retreats, and preceptor meetings that we've had thus far. The one thing that I can say that I appreciate the most about this place, which was an immediate relief when I found it because I was unsure, was that people here just care about the end goal more than anything else. They actually want to reduce suffering, and everything is just kind of means to that end. So just the genuineness of everyone here is pretty astounding when it comes to religious institutions, which this technically is one. I don't know, it's kind of hard to find sometimes. I will still be coming to the Wednesday night meditation Zoom sessions. I encourage anyone to drop in if they'd like. I'll put it this way. It's led by our Venerable Kunga Jotos. If he can teach someone like me how to meditate, he can teach absolutely anyone. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
We're going to miss you. Do we have anybody else before? No? Okay. Why don't we spend a few moments just to hold it all in, okay? I do have a few announcements. As Nielsen said, on Wednesdays, we do have our online meditation group, and that starts at 6 p.m., and you can join via Zoom, and Kunga is the one who is leading that. And if you are connected to our newsletter, you can get more information about all the things I'm about to talk about, including this. We also have our Thursday Dharma discussion group that meets 9:30 a.m., and right now they're reading Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet. And you can get a hold of Reverend Jingsu for more information about that. What was that? Oh my gosh. Let me get my pen. It's true. And that's actually what I think I gave this Joy the last bit again, that I'm so happy to have you part of our temple here, our team. Let's see. Some of these have already happened, so I got to skip around here. On Sunday, November 16th, which I believe is today, correct? We have our Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple board meeting, and that starts at 11:30, so briefly after the service. Anybody is invited to join in on that. And also, I do believe we are still looking for more volunteers to be part of the board to kind of help with the behind-the-scenes work. Yes? Oh, okay. Well, it's too late. You missed your window. You're not invited. Well, we tried too hard, I guess. So, but you are all still invited to attend that if you want to just be more aware of the interworkings of the temple, any sort of financial questions, just to see how things are being ran. So that is an open meeting, correct? Okay. All right. Also, we have our preceptor ordination and potluck on November 30th, so we're getting pretty close. And so, like all of our potlucks, feel free, if you can, to bring a dish. You don't have to. If you do, though, we just ask that you mark any sort of allergens in there, anything like that, because we do have people here with lots of different diets and tolerations. So if you can just let us know so we don't have to pull out the EpiPens. We also have our Bodhisattva training that's going to be starting at the beginning of next year on January 3rd through August 2nd. So this is a pretty long training. One of the prerequisites is that you've taken the precepts through us or any other practice that you've done. So I will just read the blurb here, okay? So receiving the Bodhisattva training represents a deep commitment to the cultivation of the Buddha Dharma. This tradition in this temple, students who wish to follow the Bodhisattva path commit to observing the 10 great precepts and cultivating the 6 paramitas. To create good Dharma habits, they commit to developing a regular daily practice for 32 weeks, including prostrations, meditations, recitations, study, and journaling. And you can contact Kunga for any more information on that. You can also talk to any of the teachers because we're all involved in that program, in that study. Also, we do have our Buddhist-based recovery meetings that we host here. Oh, go for it. Here you go.
Hello again. My name is Juesh and Sewer Shane. Yes, we have 3 meetings, recovery meetings, 12-step based in Buddhist language on Mondays. It's here at the temple at 6:30. We come in, we have a 20-minute meditation. 7 o'clock, we have our meeting, and it's usually a barefoot meeting, which you don't have to take your socks off or anything. We don't have a topic. If you're familiar with meetings, we just kind of all share what we're dealing with, and we share our hope and our how we're dealing with our own addictions. And any addiction, the only requirement to attend is your desire to end your relationship with that addiction. On Wednesdays, we have the meeting at the North Club off College, and that's in room 4 downstairs, and that's at 6:30, meditation, 7 o'clock meeting. And then on Fridays, we have it in the morning, which I have to work, so I can't go. But it is also via Zoom, which I have to get the link. I believe it's on the newsletter. But that is at 10 in the morning. It starts 10:05 meditation, and then the meeting's at 10:35, I assume. Sorry, 10:35. The meeting is 10:35 to 11:35, I think. Okay, and that's about it.
Do we have any more announcements? Yes.
Sunshin. Yes. This is on the floor in the entryway. If it's yours, it's right here.
Okay.
Good morning, Sangha. Oh, boy, messed up already. It's not like I haven't done this 1,000 times. My name is Ellen. Our practice, the word dana means generosity, and there are thousands of ways to do that every single day. Here at the temple, nobody receives a paycheck. Everything that happens here happens because someone is being generous with their time. Tech support, our board, our clergy, no one gets a paycheck. So helping out around here is crucial. If you would like more information about the tasks that happen here all the time, you can always contact Jeremy or Ashton. I don't know their Dharma names. I'm never going to be able to do that. So that's how I was introduced, Jeremy and Ashton, and that's how they're always going to stay for me. They have, I don't, we are very organized because of these two people. We even have a name. It's Dharma Disciples. So come on, don't you want to join? I mean, really. We're working on a secret handshake. I really want a jacket, with the name on the back and the whole bit. So you might as well make it fun. And it is very easy to get into the site, to say what you're available, when you're available to do particular tasks. They will teach you one-on-one tutorials for incense lighting. For now that Nelson's leaving us, we're going to miss him, but now we're going to need another body, at least another body in there for tech support. So think about those things. There's a lot to do around here. Also, John, if you think maybe there's something you could provide the temple with, toilet paper, Kleenex, tea bags, John is the person to talk to. And last but not least, of course, is the financial support that we use to keep the lights on and, warm in the winter, cool in the summer. We have Dana boxes at the end of the temple. They take cash or check. There's also a QR code on there that will take you directly to PayPal. You can set up a one-time donation, monthly, weekly. They're very flexible over there at PayPal. Also, if you are watching on YouTube this morning, just below the screen, there's another link that will take you directly to PayPal. Also, if you go to our website, zengr.org, you'll find another button you can go to donate. So anything you can do whenever you can, however you can, we appreciate it very much.
All right. Well, with that, why don't we stand and turn to page 6 and we'll do our closing gathas. For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction, I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if we could have one side face the other side, we'll give one last closing bow. Thank you, everybody. We will still have some tea downstairs if you want to talk. We may have a slightly shorter one because we have a couple meetings, including our board meeting. But I'd love to meet all of you and say hello. So thank